Recap an insane slate of games from Week 11 on this edition of the Shumake Take. Let's get it. All right, and welcome in everybody. Hope you're having a fantastic, fantabulous, awesome freaking day. My name is Garrett Shumake, and you are listening to the Shumake Take. This is episode number 23, and we got a good video for you guys today, man. Recording, and it's currently 8:03 p.m. Eastern Time. Sunday Night Football is going to kick off soon. I'm going to end up missing kickoff, unfortunately, and probably end up missing the entire first half for this game, but I cannot go any longer without recording this video and talking about how insane this week was. There was a lot of upsets. There was a lot of crazy games. And here's the deal, like, so crazy, I'm not even matching clothes. I got a pink shirt on, and then I put on a blue and white hat with a little bit of red accent for Bills Mafia today. I'm not a Bills fan, but they beat Kansas City, which we're going to get to at the end of the show to save the best for last. But we got to start with the insanity. Really not much insanity, but Thursday Night Football was quite the interesting game, in my opinion. The Eagles defeat. I didn't even do housekeeping. Yeah, I didn't even do housekeeping. You know what? Yeah, we don't need to do housekeeping. Let's go right into it. Let's go right into football. The Philadelphia Eagles beating the Washington Commanders 26-18. The Philadelphia Eagles overcome their offensive struggles from the first half, and Saquon Barkley taking over in the fourth quarter, and the Eagles defense makes a statement. And I guess I'm going to have to start with the Commanders here. Honestly, I'm excited. I'm going in like hot right now, not even really thinking about what I'm going to say. But starting with the Commanders, Jaden Daniels, 191 yards. He had a touchdown, had an interception in this game. And here's the thing. The run game was contained for him and his ability to escape. And now with the Commanders dropping 2 straight, we have a formula to stop Jaden Daniels. And it simply put, it's just containing him from running the football. And we've seen in the past 2 games, you've been able to limit that and makes it harder for the offense to do what it wants to do. And boom, it leads to 2 straight losses for them. And obviously, it's much harder for it to be executed, and it's easier said than done. But how does it happen? How do you contain a mobile quarterback like Jaden Daniels? And here's the thing. First things first, you got to keep your edge integrity. You got to keep your edge rushers in line. Don't let them get too far inside so the quarterback can sneak out and roll out to his right or roll to his left and make plays off script. And then along with that, you got to have linebackers that are incredibly eye disciplined. They're very smart, very controlled, and that's what happened. And here's the thing. The Commanders, I like the game plan they tried. They tried to test this Philadelphia secondary. They tried to test the discipline of this defense using a whole lot of their running backs who had great games regardless. Brian Robinson had 63 yards. He had a touchdown. Austin Eckler only had 2 carries for 7 yards, but he had 8 catches for 89 yards, including a huge catch in the first quarter of this game. And here's the thing. They were motioning them. They were running them in split backfield formations all game long. They were doing a lot of stuff that was eye candy, really trying to test this Philadelphia defense and get someone to screw up, get someone to get caught lacking, and they simply did not fall for it. And the Eagles, they adjusted well to it. Early on in the game, it was a little bit of a struggle. I mean, like I said, Austin Eckler had a huge catch in the first quarter. In the second quarter, Brian Robinson had a huge touchdown run. Not anything like long or anything, but very physical, very dominant up the middle a bunch of times. And they adjusted. They figured it out. And defensively for Washington, I thought they held their own for the majority of the game. Here's the thing. Jalen Hurts, this offense, we're going to talk about it in a second. They did their thing and they had their way at certain points in this game. But here's the thing. When they got backed up, they held on big time. They did not allow a red zone touchdown until later on in the game. I think they allowed one early in the first quarter. I take that back. But other than that, that was the last time they scored in the red zone, I'm pretty sure. Maybe one more time, which was a field goal. But the big thing was Jake Elliott missed 3 field goals in this game. He missed 1 from 44, 1 from 51. He missed an extra point. And these are huge, huge breaks for Washington's defense, and they were able to stay in it because of it. But they ultimately just felt and ran out of juice at the end, could not hold and contain Saquon Barkley, who we'll talk about in a second. But despite the meltdown that the Commanders had on defense, no, we're not. This is not falling over, please and thank you. But here's the thing. I want to give a shout out to the rookie out of Michigan, the corner, Mike Sainristil. Mike Sainristil, the corner out of Michigan rookie. I thought he had a great game tonight on Thursday night. Here's the thing. When you look at rookie quarterbacks or cornerbacks, the big thing you see from them as rookies is when they're going against their man one-on-one coverage, they tend to not get their head around and look for the football because they're too concerned with the receiver that's better than them, because of experience, whatever it may be. They're too worried about getting beat. So they're trying to follow the receiver. They're trying to make sure that they have eyes on him the whole time. And what happens is usually they'll play a little bit too handsy. They won't be looking for the ball. So that extra handsiness will draw a flag here and there. But no, Sanders still turned his head around, located the football. He stopped a huge slot fade from Devontae Smith and prevented a touchdown. He got a couple pass deflections as well. He played great in this game for the most part. And that's the stuff you like to see from a rookie, that he's not afraid. He's not afraid to get beat. He can feel it. He can feel when the ball's coming his way, and he can turn around and go make a play on it. He has that instinct early on, and that's very promising. Marshawn Lattimore played fine in this game as well. And ultimately, it was the defensive line that got juice at the end, where before I go on to the Eagles offense, another shout out to Commanders linebacker Frankie Louvu. 2 sacks in this game. He blew up a double reverse. And like I said, or Mike, I'm going to say, they broke down in the run game. But here's the thing. They mostly did their part. They fought hard. And ultimately, it wasn't enough. They didn't make enough big plays in the fourth quarter. And Saquon Barkley did. Here's the thing. 26 carries, 146 yards, 2 touchdowns. Both of those touchdown runs going in the fourth quarter. That were really long runs. And this sequence is what did the Commanders in. Saquon, large touchdown run. Next drive, Jaden Daniels, Reed Blankenship picks it off. And then next drive, touchdown run, ends the game for the Commanders. And here's the thing. The offense overall for Philly was great tonight. They are here. A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts all played really, really well in this game. And the first half was pretty bad, if I'm being entirely honest. There was a lot of drops, incomplete passes, run lanes were not open. There was a lot of miscommunication in the first half. But in the second half, they really cleaned it up and got a lot better. And this is what you like to see from the Eagles offense, because the Commanders, they've had a couple strings of decent games defensively, and you could not go into the third quarter and continue your struggles and continue to give the Commanders momentum. And they stepped up and they went ahead and took it back. They went back to basics, handing the ball off to Saquon Barkley, letting them run the football, just playing easy, complimentary ball, and it got them the win. Then Washington, as I said, had no juice in the fourth quarter. They were gassed on the defensive line and could not hold Saquon. And that's ultimately what happened. But the star of the game, even though it was Saquon Barkley, for sure, I thought the Eagles defense made a statement Thursday night. And overall, their defense has been a lot better than I gave them credit for all this time. They've definitely played a lot better statistically, and for that, I am sorry. I didn't say the Eagles defense was bad, but I thought that they had some moments where their secondary was pretty bad, and I thought it was a pretty bad secondary overall, but they're actually a pretty decent unit. And here's the thing. My point still kind of stands, though, that the past 3 weeks, they were going up against bad teams. Of course, they played great as they're expected to, but you're going up against one of the most dynamic offenses in the NFL with Jaden Daniels at quarterback for the Commanders. And as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, they did what they were supposed to do. They remained disciplined. They held their edge integrity. Linebackers had really good eye discipline. And the secondary, the corners, they allowed some plays here and there. you know, here's the thing. They locked down Terry McLaurin. 2 catches for 7 yards, right? And along with that, no other receiver. Man, pretty bad sneeze right there. However, like I said, they allowed some plays, but here's the thing. They did their job, and I'm going to shout out Quinion Mitchell here, the rookie cornerback for them. I think was he out of Toledo? Was that the guy out of Toledo? Yes, Quinion Mitchell was out of Toledo. Here's the thing. I looked at his stat line against the best receivers he's went up against, and he's went up against the best receivers in the league, and he's locked them down when he's been against them. It's been crazy what type of a performance he's been able to put up against these receivers, and I'm surprised not a lot of people are putting him in the conversation for Defensive Rookie of the Year, at least from what I've been hearing. And guess what? He needs to be in that conversation now, because add Terry McLaurin on that list, who's been having a really good year. I don't know. Quinion Mitchell, as a rookie, has really, really been special for them, and just wanted to give him a quick shout out. But to conclude it, Philly now is in definitively first place in the NFC East. They are now 8-2. Commanders fall to 7-3 or 7-4. I can't remember. They fall to 7-4 on the year after dropping 2 straight. And for the Commanders, they got to get back to basics. They got to figure out how they're gonna prepare for next week's opponent. Because here's the thing: you're either gonna have to learn how to play without Jaden Daniels being able to run the football, or you got to find a way to give him opportunities to run the football again. Because if the Commanders drop 3 straight, we might have to have a conversation about how legitimate is this team, not as a potential playoff team, but as a team that is going to do something or make noise in the playoffs, as some people are hyping them up to be able to do right at this very moment. But for now, for Philly, they have the lead. They have an opportunity to kind of take a chokehold on it and have a lead, and a more definitive lead next week. And for the Commanders, they got to find a way to get it back on track real soon before it gets out of hand. But next up, the Raiders and the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins beat them 34-19. They dominate the Raiders and go back to form for the first time this year, and their defense steps up big time in this game. And starting with the offense, Tua played well. He had 28 for 36, 288 yards, 3 touchdowns. Devon Achane, 73 yards. He had a touchdown. And how did the Dolphins offense go back to form? You want to know how they went back to form? Here's the thing. Number one, you have a solid running game. Devon Achane, as I said, 73 yards, had a touchdown, 4.3 yards per carry. That is what you want. Solid, efficient, and when it needs to be, explosive when it comes to running the football. And then I also mentioned it too last week when they lost. They got nothing out of their receivers. They got nothing out of their tight ends. And here's the thing. They got something out of their tight ends. Jonnu Smith had 101 yards, 2 touchdowns, a big 57-yard touchdown catch. Tyreek Hill, he was solid in his own right. He had 61 yards, had a touchdown. And here's the thing. When you have the pieces on this offense all contributing, that's when this offense does its best. Not even with the tight ends having a game like this where it went over 100 yards. Even if they have 40 or 50 yards, if they take the pressure off of these receivers to do everything for this offense, it takes the pressure off of Tua to have to throw it deep every time, right? And of course, they're able to throw deep. They had a big, wide open play. I think that was a Jonnu Smith 57-yard touchdown. He was wide butt open, and no one was around him for like 20 or 30 yards. But that is how the Miami Dolphins need to do their offense. This is how they play well. They complement each other. They get value out of every part of their position. And with their last thing, the offensive line, which has not been good this year, guess what? When their skill position players are performing well, it helps out their offensive line not have to, pick up the slack, have to try and block even more, and kind of just let Tua and let this offense do its thing. And that is the formula for Miami to win. And then defensively, you got 3 sacks, you got consistent pressure. Jalen Ramsey had a big interception in this game. And for Miami, this win, I don't think they're going anywhere this year. I don't think they're going to go on a magical run. But here's the thing. They're at home. It's still warm in Miami, which I talked about in the preview. That's why I think they won this game. And here's the thing. They needed this. They really needed it. And they did their job today. They did their job, beat up on them pretty darn good. And for the Raiders, they are abysmal. Gardner Minshew, mid in this game, didn't play well enough. Worst run game in the National Football League, right behind Dallas, in my opinion. At this point, the Raiders are going to finish with a top 5 pick. And sure, they need edge help. Sure, they need corner help. They need help all over the board. Offensive line. They need a quarterback. But man, they really, really need a run game that can complement this team. And the 2 times that the Raiders have won football games this year, they've been able to run the football. And when they haven't, which is all of their 8 losses, they haven't been able to do it. And here's the thing. At this point, you know, you have Gardner Minshew, you have Aiden O'Connell. Obviously, you need to draft a quarterback, which sucks. But a rookie quarterback going into a situation where they don't have a run game, you're going to have to figure that out. Because, you know, Ashton Jeanty is going to be a first-round pick, the running back out of Boise State. And at this point, it almost feels as much as you have to pick him over a quarterback. Because the running game has been so bad to a point now where you can't get a proper evaluation of your quarterbacks. If you can't run the football at all, it's hard to be able to do what you got to do on offense, let alone play quarterback. If you can hear my dog barking, I sincerely apologize. But we're getting there. And the only bright side for this game, for the Raiders in this game, Brock Bowers, 13 catches, 126 yards, had a touchdown. You know, he's their best thing on offense. And for now, you just lean on him. Try and lean on your young players and see what you got. So when you go into next year, you can, you know, reset. You can really hit the reset button and see what you can go from there. Man, my nose is running. I'm trying not have to make a cut to blow it. But talking about a blown opportunity here, the Saints defeated the Cleveland Browns 35-14. The Jameis Winston revenge game was stifled as the Saints dominate their way to 2 straight wins. And that's insane. For Derek Carr and for the New Orleans Saints, this is insane. Fire their head coach, Dennis Allen. You win 2 straight. Now, I'm not going to be here and say that this team is going to go on a run. It's not going to happen. But look, they needed this. And seeing how well they played in the first 2 weeks and seeing how they played in the last 7 games before this 2-game stretch and Dennis Allen getting fired, this team should have played a lot better throughout the year. And here's the thing. Coaching matters. Coaching does matter. And when you get a guy in here that's, you know, normally a special, you know, or an interim head coach, you know, their job isn't to elevate this team. Their job isn't to do that. And sure, they're elevated right now. I don't think it's going to go far. But here's the thing. The Saints could have gotten better play in their 7-game losing streak. And they've gotten more in these previous 2 games. And now, is that because of the interim head coach? I'm not sure. Give him credit because, you know, obviously he's the head coach. So right now, he has to earn some credit. But the Saints, it's encouraging. They needed this really, and I'm all over the place right now. I'm sweating. It is hot in my room right now. My mind is running all over the place. I am rambling hardcore right now. So let's get into why the Saints won this game. Derek Carr, solid performance, 21-27, 248 yards, 2 touchdowns. But Taysom Hill's the one that took over this game. Sure, he threw an interception in this game, but here he had 138 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns, 8 catches for 50 yards. I mean, he's the Swiss Army knife of this offense, and he's probably the best Swiss Army knife in the NFL. This is why. You needed to get him involved. He really hasn't been involved all year for the most part. You finally go back to him, and guess what? He gives you touchdowns. He gives you points. Gives you big plays. And he has a role in this offense. He has a role in this football team. And he hasn't done, or hasn't not been used nowhere near enough as he should, which is contributing to why Dennis Allen got fired. But it wasn't just Taysom Hill. Alvin Kamara had 67 yards, 4.2 yards per carry. MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling had a 71-yard touchdown in this game. Absolutely massive for them. And defensively, it's still pretty bad. But here's the thing. Because Jameis Winston, he threw 395 yards. He had 2 touchdowns in this game. And Jerry Jeudy had 142 yards and a touchdown. Njoku had 81 yards. Elijah Moore had 66 yards and a touchdown. But how did the Saints not allow so much points? Because they held up. They held up, and when things got closer and closer and closer, they got off the field. They were able to hold their own. Now, to be fair, I don't know if there was any missed field goals. I didn't look at that, unfortunately, for the recap. And at the same time, defensively, for Cleveland, they're just undisciplined. They were undisciplined. They were not ready. They could not get pressure in this game at all. And now it kind of begs the question, is Kevin Stefanski the guy? Is Kevin Stefanski the guy that should be coaching the Cleveland Browns in the future? And, he has the resume of, sure, he won Coach of the Year last year and made the playoffs despite, all the injuries that they had. But going into this year, they were healthy. They're healthier. And it's just that much worse of a product on the field for Cleveland. And the quarterback situation's all messed up. And I don't know what's going on in Cleveland. I don't know where you go from here, because this team had expectations. I had expectations for this team, and they've fallen nothing short. Nothing but completely short. So for Cleveland, Jameis Winston gives them the best chance to win. That's not saying much, but hey, at least there's points in time where this game looks fun for Cleveland Browns fans. At least it's going to be somewhat respectable. Maybe you can hope that your young players and, the big name players on your roster continue to improve and continue to get better, and the team maybe still loses and you get a better draft pick. That's probably what the best mentality is for Browns fans moving forward. But the Jets, they don't know where the heck they're going to go as the Colts defeat the New York Jets 28-27, and the Colts leading a fourth quarter comeback, and Anthony Richardson bounces back. Jets lose another winnable game, and Anthony Richardson, he got benched, missed a couple games, came back, started this week, was announced he was going to remain the starter the rest of the year, and what does he do? He's 20 for 30, 272 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 rushing touchdowns, including one in the fourth quarter that gave them the lead with 50 seconds to go. And here's the thing. Jonathan Taylor didn't have a good game. And normally, if Jonathan Taylor doesn't have a good game, the Colts lose. Almost always. If the Colts can't run with Jonathan Taylor, they lose. But guess what? Anthony Richardson stepped up big today. Josh Downs, Alec Pierce stepped up big. Michael Pittman was solid in this game. They went for 2 earlier in the game. They didn't get it in the fourth quarter. That sucked. And then it allowed Aaron Rodgers to go down the field, take the lead with a field goal, go up by a few, and go up by 6. But Anthony Richardson executed a perfect 2-minute drive. They got a big play to Alec Pierce down inside the 30-yard line with like 2:30 to go, and they whittled the clock all the way down to 50 seconds. Ran the ball. Anthony Richardson wills his way into the end zone. Just get the game tire, and then the extra point gives them the lead. And the defense for Indianapolis sucked per usual. But here's the thing. I'll give them the credit. They held them on the last drive. 46 seconds, no timeouts. But you know what? Kwity Paye had 2 sacks, including which one ended the game. So, hey, they made the play at the end and held them. It didn't allow another point. And for the Jets, this is just another heartbreaker. They did enough to win this game, I thought. And offensively, Aaron Rodgers only had 184 yards. He had 2 touchdowns. Devontae Adams played well. Breece Hall had a great game in his own right. He had 78 yards for a touchdown. He had 43 yards in a receiving touchdown. But the big thing is the Jets' defense at the end just fell apart. The one thing that the Jets have been able to hang their hat on all year long was their defense, is what let them down in this game. And honestly, at this point, we talk about coaching mattering and how an interim head coach for the New Orleans Saints is winning 2 straight. The interim head coach, Jeff Ulbrich, for the Jets, it just simply isn't elevating this team. Not that he's supposed to. He's an interim head coach, right? But here's the thing. It's just still more bad. And I just continue to say that this is a waste of a season for the Jets. And I don't know what you do at this point if you're Jets fans. You just have to hope for a better draft pick. But at this point, the Jets look like they're going to be picking in the top 5 at this point. But so many teams have only 2 wins, and they're all so bad. It's a constant race. Who knows who's going to get the first overall pick right now at this point? There's no one definitive team that's the worst in the NFL at this point in time. But man, for the New York Jets, this is just disappointing. They had this win in the bag, and they just absolutely, absolutely unequivocally fumbled this football game. I apologize. I just need to take a second. I have to blow my nose. It is absolutely killing me. I apologize. I will be right back. All right, and we are back. Sorry about that. We are back into it. And the next game on our list is the Titans-Vikings game. The Minnesota Vikings beat the Tennessee Titans 23-13. Vikings get a very questionable win over Tennessee as the referees make this game very, very odd. Starting with the Minnesota Vikings, I thought Sam Darnold played a great game today. He was 20 for 32, 246 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing, 1 on the goal line. Running the ball was a struggle in this game, but Tennessee has a really good run defense, so that was kind of expected in retrospect. Justin Jefferson, though, had a solid game. Jordan Addison had a huge 47-yard touchdown catch in this game. Was very impressive. Defensively, you got 5 sacks. You stifled the run game for Tennessee, which has been their lone bright spot on their offense. Harrison Smith gets a late interception, kind of in garbage time, which, but still, a pick's a pick, fine. But for Tennessee, Tennessee's defense was terrible in this game. The one thing that they've been able to kind of hang their hat on all year long was terrible. They let Sam Darnold get away from multiple what would be sacks. They allowed a lot of just back-breaking penalties on their end. Now, there was a couple really, really bad, egregious penalties in this game by the referees that were very, 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 very questionable, that weren't right. There was a really bad there was a really bad unnecessary roughness call on Tennessee. There was a weird legal formation that called a touchdown back. There was a couple others that were really bad, and every single critical penalty where the referees made the wrong call, it led to Vikings touchdowns. And of course, Tennessee's defense played terribly, so that's not an excuse. But here's the thing. I'm not going to go on a tirade about it, but you know how every year there's, we try to avoid, as content creators, as, NFL play-by-play announcers and color commentators talk about referees, as, game day hosts talk about it. We don't really talk about the refs all that much, because here's the thing. It's a redundant topic. Sure, it's constantly new. It's constantly fresh because of the calls, bad calls, or the lack of a call they make all the time. But there's always that one game every year that's just really, 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 really bad. And here's the thing. I'm going to make a clip of this and probably post it on social media. But like I said, I'm not going to go on a huge tirade about it. But here's the thing. Referees, we need to find a solution. We need to find a solution on how to make referees be held accountable. We need to figure out what's going on. Because do we need to fine them because they're making bad calls like this? Do we need to conduct an investigation because they're betting on games, which I think they are betting on games at this point? If players have been busted for it, what's stopping referees? Am I right? Think about it for a second. But at the same time, do we need another system that can go above the referees? If they make an egregious call, there's a system in place to fix it if something like that happens. I don't know what we need to do to fix this referee issue, but referees have really ruined games all year long. Not just this one, but there's been multiple games all year where referees are terrible. And my video right now, this clip that's going to go on social media, this isn't going to fix anything. It's not going to change anything until the NFL steps in and does something. But we need to be let it known that right now, referees are hurting the integrity of the game. As much as the NFL wants to hammer on players and coaches following rules to keep the integrity of the game, referees aren't being held to the same standard, and it sucks because it's killing teams, it's causing teams to lose. It hurts to watch as a referee, or as a referee. It hurts to watch as a fan, and as I said, it is hurting the integrity of the game. And I said it. I'm going to be a full-on blown conspiracy theorist here, but think about it for a second. The NFL has busted players for betting on NFL games. What's stopping referees who have more power doing the same thing? I don't believe that the NFL is rigged. I think it's impossible, and I think there's a lot of logical explanations behind it. And I will go as far as to say, clip this too. If you think the sport is rigged, you're an idiot. I'm going to say that. Sorry, not sorry. But there's no doubt in my mind that referees are betting on games. There is no doubt in my mind that they're doing that. Considering if they make $200,000 a year, I mean, shoot, that's a lot of good money. But guess what? Money makes people do really weird things. And when you're in control, like a referee is of an NFL game, I'm inclined to believe that a couple people may have went on a FanDuel and placed a couple bets here and there. They went on DraftKings or they went on Prize Picks and made a couple bets here and there. And, oh, does that play kind of influence my over-under? I better call a play that prevents that. Or, oh, the over-under, I'm not reaching it right now. Let's make a couple calls right here to give them the edge so it happens. I mean, there's a lot of explanations. That one's not really, based in logic. But hey, I mean, it's a thought. Think about it, guys. End of that. But I don't know. I really don't know what to do with this referee situation, man. I kind of went on a bigger tirade than I thought I would. But still really bad. But here doesn't excuse the fact that Tennessee had a lot of really bad penalties in this game. They killed themselves on penalties. Every time they had a big play, came back, over and over again. And here's the thing. If you want, as a Titans fan or Titans fans, if you want to feel better about yourself, if you want to feel better about yourselves, here's the thing. Will Levis played good in this game. He had 295 yards. He had a touchdown. The interception was late. It was in garbage time. But here's the thing. NWI, Nick Westbrook-Akine, had a 98-yard receiving touchdown, which was insane. The offense came to life for a bit there. There was a 51-yard touchdown to Calvin Ridley that was overturned and called back because of a bogus illegal formation call. Calvin Ridley had another solid performance. And the thing is, Levis looks better. These past couple of games, he's been pretty solid. Hasn't made any really dumb decisions. He still has issues in the pocket with pocket awareness. But here's the thing. He's improving. He's getting better. And the best case scenario for Titans fans, let Levis continue to improve and get better and let the team continue to lose. And guess what? You get a top 5 pick in the draft where you can get a guy to help him out and continue to develop and continue to improve him. Because if you can figure out the quarterback and you can figure out that he is your guy, that is going to do a lot to get this team going in the right direction. Moving on to the next game. I'm going to take a sip of water real quick. My mind is still racing very much so, as you can tell. But this game was pretty nuts. The Packers defeating the Chicago Bears 20-19. Packers survive Chicago as they block a game-winning field goal. Absolute heartbreaker for the Chicago Bears. Caleb Williams, we'll start with him. He had one of the best games of his career so far. 23 of 31, had 231 passing yards, had 70 rushing yards, didn't have any touchdowns, but here's the thing, he was solid and he was efficient. DeAndre Swift had 71 yards, a touchdown, the insane touchdown run. The offensive lineman laid out a huge block that sparked the whole thing and let it happen. And then Terrell Smith got a huge red zone interception off of Jordan Love right before halftime, taking away points from them. And overall, the Bears just had a really gritty physical performance. They laid everything out on the table. They said, screw it, we're going to do what we can to beat Jordan Love and the Packers. And it worked. They had him beat. They were going to kick the game-winning field goal, and then it just got blocked. It got blocked at the end. Special teams, big gaff, and wow. That just sucks. As I said, it was a heartbreaker for Chicago because they really did enough to win. And for Green Bay, you really got to start looking kind of like back and forth at each other because the offense is struggling right now. There's no way around it. Sure, they've had their moments. Christian Watson had a huge game. He had 150 yards in this game. And then Josh Jacobs, he did what he does every week. But here's the thing, Jordan Love is struggling. He has his moments where he just makes these boneheaded decisions, and it makes you wonder, what's going on? Can it get better? Like, why is these silly mistakes happening? And I'll tell you why. It's because Jordan Love's it, and he's only in his second year as a starting quarterback. So, obviously, there's still going to be kinks to work out, which is why you shouldn't have paid him so goddamn early, in my opinion. God. But the Packers look a lot like the Texans of the NFC right now. They play really well in certain games, and there's a couple games where they kind of go, the quarterback struggles, the team struggles a little bit. They let a team that they probably should beat hang around, and they probably, they should have lost to them in this game, but thank God they blocked the field goal and kept it going. But here's the thing. The Packers, they won today. The defense for them was challenged a lot. I'm trying to fix my script at the same time. But they escaped with the win in Chicago, and for the Packers, they need to figure... Oh, man, I can't believe my allergies are deciding to attack me at this point in time. It sucks. It really sucks. I can tell my voice is kind of faltering too. But we're getting through it. We're getting there. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games to go. We're almost there, guys. This video is not going as well as I thought it would be, if I'm being entirely honest. As I said before, my mind is racing right now. The allergies are killing me. My room is hot right now for whatever reason. But this next game, we're going to just quickly gloss through it because there's not really that much to talk about. The Lions beat the Jacksonville Jaguars 52-6. And for Jacksonville, you allowed 1 sack, and Brian Thomas Jr. had 5 catches for 82 yards. That's it. That's literally it. There's literally nothing more I can talk about other than how bad it was. But for the Lions, more of the same. Jared Goff, 24-29, 412 yards, 4 touchdowns. Montgomery, 75 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs, 69 yards, 3 touchdowns between them. And St. Brown, 161 yards, had a touchdown. Jameson Williams had a touchdown, 124 yards. Kirby Joseph, big interception. And here's the thing. The Lions, they're 9-1. They're the best team in football right now. It's not even close, I think. Their offense is objectively the best. Defensively, they had a best game of the year, obviously, against a bad football team. But right now, I mean, they look like a Super Bowl team. And let's just see how long it can keep going. How great can this offense continue to be? What team is going to stop them and make them look vulnerable for the first time? And since the beginning of the year, really, we're about to find out at some point. But who knows? Who knows? This next thing, though, was pretty interesting. The LA Rams beat the New England Patriots 28-22. Rams win the close matchup as they look more like themselves, and the Patriots look the best offensively they have all year long. For the Rams, how do you look like themselves? How do you go back to looking like yourself? Well, here's the thing. Matthew Stafford, Mike Tyson. By the way, that fight, the Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight, was really bad. I'm not going to talk about it, but it was pretty bad. If you watched it, you know how bad it was. If you know, you know. If you don't know, go ahead and look it up. It was pretty bad. Very bad display. Very shameful to the fight or art of boxing. But we're talking about football right now. How do the Rams go back to looking like themselves? Well, here's how you do it. Matthew Stafford, 4 touchdowns. First off, you have to play great at quarterback. But also, your skill players need to step up. Puka Nacua, 7 for 123, a touchdown. Cooper Kupp, 6 for 106, 2 touchdowns. Kyron Williams, 15 carries, 86 yards, 5.7 yards per carry. These 4 players, when the Rams get all 4 of these players playing well together at the same time, that's when they win football games. And it's a matter of getting that consistently every week, which they haven't been able to. But here's the thing. The Rams are now 5-5. They are in the thick of it right now in this NFC West race right now because the Seahawks, they're 5-5. They beat the 49ers today. 49ers lose. They drop to 5-5. Cardinals are on a bye week. And here's the thing. Wins for any team in the NFC West, but for especially the Rams, they all matter big time. And getting here in the final stretch of the year as we're entering it, because, we're in November now. December is going to be here. January is going to be here before we know it. They need these 4 players to start playing well together. And if they can do that, the Rams have a real opportunity here to go on a run. Defensively, wasn't great. Drake May had 282 yards. He had 2 touchdowns in this game. Not a big performance, but he threw 40 passes, went 30 for 40, so that's 75%. And Patriots ran the ball well as a team collectively as well, had 100 yards. And here's the thing. Defensively for the Rams, they were able to get an interception. Cameron Kitchens got a nice play. Braden Fisk had 2 sacks. Byron Young got a sack. So the defensive line is still doing their thing. But in the secondary, they need to catch up. They've had some struggles early on. And especially in their division. They got to pick it up. This was a really good get-right game for the Rams, if I'm being entirely honest. They needed this win to stay in the race definitively. And overall, I mean, they just did what they needed to do. I mean, they got their star players to play well together consistently, and that's the formula that they've had to follow to win football games. So if they can continue doing that, the Rams are going to be in the thick of it all the way to Week 18. It should be a matter of, not matter of when, but it's going to be a matter of if they can do that. Then the last Sunday game up from the 1 o'clock slate, the Steelers beating the Baltimore Ravens 18-16. They won an ugly matchup as they score 6 field goals, no touchdowns, and drag the Ravens through the mud. Very chippy game to start. There's a lot of fights in this game, which happens in every AFC North matchup, it feels like, especially with the Steelers and the Ravens. These two teams have a history. 27 games that are one score, apparently, according to the graphic that is all on the screen watching the game today. But philosophically, Mike Tomlin had the right decision, or had the right plan to go up against the Baltimore Ravens. Here's the thing. How do you stop the Baltimore Ravens offense? Here's the thing. The Ravens offense is all about running the football and explosion. They're all about kind of just working up a little bit, kind of pushing, just kind of inching your way, and then boom, big play. Whether it's a big pass play to Zay Flowers, or it's a huge run by Derrick Henry, which they got a couple of early in this game. But here's the thing. You have to literally make them earn every single yard. How do you drag your opponents through the mud? You make them earn every yard. You bend, you don't break, right? You don't allow touchdowns. You get a red zone interception. You get Derrick Henry to lose a fumble on the opening drive. You get Isaiah Likely to fumble right before halftime, which I think led to points. You get Justin Tucker to miss 2 field goals, who also missed 2 last week, which is absolutely crazy, which we probably need to talk about, but I really don't honestly feel like talking about it because it's kind of crazy. But at the same time, I mean, hey, you know what? The first time he's ever in a slump, it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. But something tells me Justin Tucker's going to be fine. It's one of those things where, like, yeah, it's crazy, but I think he's going to recover. I don't think it's going to be anything too massive to worry about. But that's what happens. That's how you drag the Ravens through the mud. You make them earn every yard, you bend, you don't break, and you force mistakes. You create turnovers on defense. And then offensively, how do you do this? Well, first off, you have to run the ball well. You have to have solid QB play. And here's the thing. There's a way to do this. There's a method to doing this. Because in the NFL, the entire idea is, kind of build your way, kind of, work short, intermediate stuff to create deep shots and, play this complementary type of football. And there's a method to it. But there's also a method to doing this and dragging your opponent through the mud. And that's literally you sacrifice the opportunity for big plays and, you kind of just play more floor. You kind of raise your floor and lower your ceiling, if that makes sense. But guess what? You minimize the mistakes. Sure, you had a couple sacks. And Russell Wilson had the red zone interception to Kyle Hamilton. That was really bad. But here's the thing. There was a couple of opportunities downfield made by George Pickens, who had a great game. And the big thing is adversity. Offensively, when you have adversity, you don't let it stop you. You do not let it get in your way. You don't let it falter you. And that's how you beat the Baltimore Ravens and drag them through the mud. And for this game, the Steelers now have first place. They're first place in the AFC North now. And the Ravens dropped to 7-4. And they've lost... What was it? Did they lose? Obviously, they didn't lose the Ravens. They lost the week before, I think. But, they're kind of on a funk right now where the Ravens are struggling to run the football consistently. They're struggling to get the explosive play downfield that they're looking for consistently as much as they were earlier on in the year. And defensively, they're not doing enough. They're simply not doing enough. And there was multiple graphics during the game showing the defensive ranks and, where the yards per game, the touchdowns allowed, like certain, big name stats like that, where they are at this point in time is worse than where they were when they finished the season last year. So it's kind of, the fall off is there. The fall off is there for the Ravens defense. Not that it's bad by any means. The fall off of the Ravens defense is still pretty darn good, if I do say so myself. But it's nowhere near the dominant unit that it was a year ago. And they allowed a lot. I mean, like I said, they got drugged through the mud in this game, and they allowed the Steelers to play solid, consistent football. And sure, they allowed, they didn't allow a touchdown in this game. They allowed 6 field goals. But I mean, when you got a defense that's dragging your offense to the mud, it's hard. It's hard. You got to create turnovers. You got to level that playing field, and you didn't. And that's why, that's how you win without allowing how you lose but without allowing a touchdown, because your offense commits turnovers, and defensively they're just drugged through the mud. That's simply the matter of the game. And the Steelers and Mike Tomlin show that the Pittsburgh Steelers continue to be inevitable, as they always have. Man, it sucks talking, because right now, I feel like I'm breathing weird because I'm having to breathe out of my mouth. So talking is really difficult. My nose is clogged, but I'm not gonna. I don't want to have to cut another time. I really don't want to. But we're gonna fight through it. Getting into the 4:00 games, the Broncos beat the Atlanta Falcons 38-6. What? Was not expecting this one. I thought that the Broncos could have came away and won this game. I mentioned it in my Week 11 preview on last Wednesday, but I didn't think it was going to be a blowout. But guess what? It was a blowout, and now the Falcons have lost 2 straight. And for them, I mean, obviously no one did anything well on offense. You only got 6 points. The Falcons might actually be the Texans of the NFC, because they feel more in tune with that narrative if you compare both teams. And here's the thing. Tampa's on a bye week, and the Saints have won 2 straight. And I already mentioned the Saints aren't probably, or more than likely, not going anywhere. And I'll be fine to say that they're not going anywhere this year. But here's the thing. You dropped a loss right here, and that puts you 1 loss closer to Tampa. Now, it's still the Falcons' division to lose, and I still think they're going to pull it out and win the division. But right now, there's blood in the water. Right now, there's blood in the water, and there's some sharks that, they're looking for a snack. And if you can't get your head above water, they're going to come in, and they're going to come in all Jaws style. They're going to eat you. And next thing you know, the Bucks might overtake them. Like I said, that's going to be a stretch. But, I mean, the Bucks are getting Mike Evans back, or supposed to get Mike Evans back next week, hopefully. I don't know. The Falcons, they feel a lot like the Packers. They also feel like the Commanders. They've lost a couple games, and it's, there's some blood in the water right now. And for the Commanders, they had lost the game. The Eagles were winning. They were on a hot streak, and it felt like an upset was brewing there, and they got upset. And for the Falcons, their heads below water right now, and they're lucky they had a 2-game lead, because if the Bucs didn't lose Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and started off their skid, it's entirely possible that the Bucs could have overtaken them if they were healthier. That's entirely possible right now. So the Falcons need to get their heads back on straight, because before they know it, if they lose another one and Tampa wins, they're literally going to be half a game behind. So they need to get back up and going quickly before they lose their lead, just like the Commanders have, and just like the Ravens have, and their skids are in their not losing streaks for the Ravens, but their little skid or mishap that they're on at the moment. For Denver, though, Denver might be a legit team, not in terms of being like a Super Bowl team, but right now, I mean, they're a playoff contender. There's no doubt about it at this point. They're 6-5. You have to give them the credit. Bo Nix was 20 of 33, 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. Here's the thing. That's an incredible game. How does that happen? You get production from all your guys. You had 4 guys go over 40 yards. 7 guys had over 7 yards a catch. As a team, you had 100 rushing yards. Look, the Broncos are good. They're a good football team. They're not bad. They're they're just above mid, but they're a very solid football team. And offensively, their defense is going to keep you in games for the most part. Their defense is really, really good. But offensively, if you can get a solid performance out of Bo Nix, your chances of winning are pretty high. And that's why they're 6-5 right now. It's because they're winning. Their defense is keeping them in games, giving them opportunities, and the offense is taking these opportunities and playing complementary football. That's when this Broncos are at their best. When they play complementary football and the offense is able to really help out this defense, that's when they win football games. It's when they don't do this is when they tend to lose football games, some of the times in pretty bad fashion. If you look at their schedule, But they've got a winning record right now. I think that's for the first time they had a winning record this year to this. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. No, they did the second time. I think they were 4-3 at one point earlier in the year. They may have been 3-4. I can't remember. But they're 6-5. They're third in the division right now, and the thick of it with fighting for second place with the Chargers. And they are definitely a playoff contending team right now. And if they can continue what they're doing, they're definitely going to make it in by this point. But still, too early to tell. And it's too early to tell who's going to win the NFC West because the Seahawks defeat the San Francisco 49ers 20-17. Geno Smith scoring a game-winning touchdown run with seconds to spare, keeping the Hawks in the playoff race, in the division race. And they start a big narrative for the 49ers. Are they in a Super Bowl hangover right now? At this point, yes, they are. I thought about this as I was making the script, and I really couldn't come up with an answer. But now on camera, with kind of me being big in my element, yeah, the 49ers are suffering a Super Bowl hangover. Now, here's the thing. I get it that the 49ers are hurt. They're dealing with injuries. George Kittle didn't play in this game. Nick Bosa, he played today, but he had a hip injury. Trent Williams had an injury. He played in this game. But here's the thing. Brock Purdy, you have Christian McCaffrey back. You still have Juwan Jennings. You have Deebo Samuel. Simply put, he wasn't good enough. He had a touchdown pass to Juwan Jennings, who had 91 yards. He played fine, but had an interception. And the Stars simply didn't do enough and contribute. And look, it's getting hard to keep excusing them for injuries when they continue dropping games like this, where they were in position to win, and they, the defense kind of let up and lost, and offensively, they're just not doing enough. And oh my God, I hate myself. I have to blow my nose. It's literally like getting really bad. I'm sorry. All right, we are back to it. So as we were talking, the 49ers are in a Super Bowl hangover. Their star players aren't doing enough right now. And here's the thing. It's getting really hard to continue making the excuse that, the 49ers are hurt. That's what happened in 2020 after they lost the Super Bowl to the Chiefs after 2019. In 2020, they caught the injury bug, started losing games. They got healthier, but continued to lose football games, and they missed the playoffs. And no, they, just like that year, they're suffering a Super Bowl hangover right now. This time around, every other team in their conference, or in their division, is good right now. They're in the same spot they are. So I mean, they can't continue to have these moments where they just falter and struggle. And considering how well coached we know, or how well we know the 49ers to be well coached, they're not being well coached right now. They got to figure out what's going on, because look at Seattle. Seattle, normally it takes them to have a really good day to beat their opponents, and that's normally what happens. They didn't have their best day today, and they were still able to pull out a win. And this defense for the 49ers is supposed to be touted as a really good unit, but they struggled in this game. They faltered, and even though they were in it, they just simply didn't do enough. And that's how it's been these past few weeks for the 49ers. They're just not doing enough. But going back to Seattle, though, Geno Smith had 221 yards. He had an interception that was pretty bad. The run game was mid. JSN, 10 catches, 110 yards. This guy's emerged as an elite player in the NFL right now. He's really, really good. DK Metcalf had 70 yards. He's really, really good in his own right. And defensively, you had a great day stopping the 49ers and all these star players that they have. And that's kind of the thing I talked about with Seattle is, if you catch them on a good day, they're going to give you a run for your money. And they didn't have their absolutely best day by any stretch. But look, this win means a lot to them. Not just because they need this to keep in the playoff race and they move to 5-5 on the year, but it's been very polar opposite for the Seattle Seahawks, it feels like. When they're at their best, they're winning football games, but when they're, especially on the defensive side of the football, but when they're not doing very well, they tend to not do very well. And they needed that kind of balancing out win where, yeah, they weren't on their best game, but they were still able to pull a win out against a really good football team, or what should be a really good football team. And that helps them a lot. That helps gain momentum. And especially right now with, 3 out of 4 teams being 5-5 and one team being 6-5. Right? No, can't be 6-5 because the Cardinals are on a bye week. But still, every team is 5-5 right now, and it feels like they're all in kind of a different place at the moment. The Seattle Seahawks are, in the mix trying to fight. The 49ers are kind of faltering. The Cardinals, they are, they're leading the division. I think they may have lost it because of the wins that happened today. But, they're in the thick of it right now, exceeding in my expectations at least. And then you look at oh my gosh. Oh my god, what's the fourth team on the NFC West? I keep on forgetting this. Cardinals, Rams. Oh yeah, the Rams. The Rams won today, so they improved to 5-5. So I mean, you got one team that's already leading, two teams that won today, and you lost, and you can't afford to falter right now, especially because of how good the entire division is, and it's a dogfight. And for the Seattle Seahawks, they need this. They got to keep some type of momentum, so to maybe pull away. And this is game wins like these are what exactly and how that happens. That's how that happens. You build a momentum, you challenge what you think you are, you're able to overcome something, you're able to overcome that, and it makes you a better team because of it. I'm rambling again, as you can tell. I can feel everything like starting to clog up again, so I don't want to have to cut a fourth time. I really, really don't. And I apologize that this episode's really not gone the way that I thought it would. I thought it'd be a much better episode, but man, gotta love allergies. It literally hit me right as the show was about to start too. Like as I was talking, it just got worse and worse and worse. And it really wasn't bothering me as I was making my script at all. But I don't know, here we are. Alright, we gotta save the best for last. The Buffalo Bills beat the Kansas City Chiefs 30-21, and Josh Allen runs away from Kansas City on a critical 4th and 2 touchdown run, cementing their win and handing KC their first loss of the year. Whether you like it or not, whether teams like it or not, there's a formula to beat Kansas City. It's always been there. But it's challenging. And the reason why it's challenging is because you have to change the mentality of your football team if you're going to go up against Patrick Mahomes. Now, what does that mean? How do you change your mentality? Well, first off, you have to be aggressive. And not just aggressive like, oh, you're going to do this here, this there, like blitz a lot, go 4 on 4th down. Like, obviously, that plays a role in it. But you almost have to be aggressive, almost delusionally, almost like a screw it type of thing. You have to say screw it. You can't worry about the little things. Like, sure, you got to be disciplined. And, like I talked about with the Eagles beating the Commanders, you got to keep your edge integrity, which the Bills were able to do in this game and not let Mahomes get out of the pocket all the time. And, he was, his own fair share. He got a touchdown or two out of it too, I believe. One of them definitely. I don't know, remember the other Noah Gray touchdown that he got. Shout out to him. 2 touchdowns in this game. Great for him. But you really, it's almost in a sense of, you have to accept that you're going to get beat at some point. What happens with a lot of teams that lose at Kansas City, they play this perfect game, and then they make a mistake, and then they get in their own head. It's like, oh, shoot, we have a lead, but we made a mistake, and the Chiefs are, it's intimidating, and Chiefs start working their way back. They start fighting. They keep on fighting, and then you get into moments where 4th down and 2 with 2 minutes to go, Chiefs have 2 timeouts. You kind of kick a field goal, and you hope your defense holds, and that's where Mahomes gets you. Previous Bills teams were like this. They were fighting all the way to the end, and then they would go make that field goal. They would make a play that's conventional football. They play the game conventionally, and that's where Mahomes kills you. And this game, that's not what happened. 4th and 2, 2:14 to go. Josh Allen runs for a touchdown, which was insane. Absolutely insane run. Very determined. And that's how you beat the Chiefs. You have to be willing to change your mentality and play the game differently versus any other team. If you know me, I'm a gamer. If you play the game Dead by Daylight, if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can skip this. I'm not going to tell you to go play Dead by Daylight. I have a very, very interesting relationship with the game. But regardless, the best killer in Dead by Daylight is known as the Nurse. And her mechanic is that she can blink and teleport. She can teleport, and it's a move called Blink. She can teleport across the map, and she's the only killer that can do that. Here's the thing. When you challenge the nurse, who's the best killer in the game, you have to counter her and go against her differently compared to any other killer in the game. Every other killer in the game has its own different mechanics. They have their own things that they do well, but ultimately the core, counters, or corner, the overall the normal gameplay mechanics to counter each killer remain the same, except for the nurse. Because she can teleport, it completely changes the game. That's the same concept when you go up against Kansas City. You have to change how you play the game. Your mentality, as I've talked about, has you game plan for it. Like, it's so different that it's almost scary. Because if you go against, if you do what you did against Kansas City against another team, there's a very high possibility that, you get over your lane and you get upset. But for the Chiefs, it's different because they're going to give you everything they got every single game. And the margin for error against Kansas City is very, 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 very thin. Like, you cannot make a mistake. And here's the thing. Josh Allen threw an interception in this game. That was pretty bad. But guess what? The defense played out, and with this aggression, with this mentality of just screw it, we're going to go play, we're going to go win no matter what, you get a pick, you get a takeaway. You hold Mahomes to less than 200 yards. You hold Travis Kelce to 2 catches for 8 yards. You hold only D-Hop to only 29 yards. Right? That's how you do it. And it's not just sure you had a great game plan and whatnot. That's obviously the case. But there's a different mentality when you go up against Kansas City, and it's really hard to do because it challenges you in more ways than just the regular mental aspects of preparing for a game. You literally have to approach it like you have nothing to lose. You have to approach it like you have nothing to lose, because if you get in your own head trying to worry about winning and trying to, not lose, that's where they're going to get you, and that's where they're going to beat you, and then you're going to lose. That's what happens. That's the formula to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And Josh Allen carried this team. He absolutely carried this team. The run game was decent, but wasn't spectacular, but he had 262 yards. He had a passing touchdown, ran for a touchdown in this game. But here's the thing. Josh Allen didn't do it himself, even though he carried this team, especially on offense. Defensively, though, they did their thing. I talked about how they held Mahomes, and as I mentioned it, you got to keep your edge integrity, whatnot. I talked about that in when I talked about the Commanders and Eagles game at the start of the video. The other thing, too, is they got 2 sacks. They got 2 sacks on Mahomes, got pressure on him all game long, and despite the fact that Mahomes got away a couple times and was able to make plays, guess what Mahomes looked? He actually looked uncomfortable. Mahomes is a quarterback where no matter what's going on around him, he's completely calm and collected. But today, he looked uncomfortable. When the Bills blitzed, when they got pressure, his first instinct was to move, get moving, and extend the play. He didn't stay in the pocket for very long and for very many plays. A lot of them, he literally bounced up, had a bigger drop back, ran out to his right, rolled out to his left. Like, he was on the move and uncomfortable. And that contributes, having the great game plan and being very disciplined. That's how you beat Kansas City. You have to play an almost dang near perfect game. As I mentioned, the little margin for error. But the mentality that you're just going to say, screw it, you're going to go win, that is a lot for your team. That is a lot for your defense, because if you just allow them to play free, play aggressive, play nasty, that's how you get performances like these. That's how you get these performances where where the team steps up big time, and they hand Kansas City their first loss of the year, and it's massive. I know a lot of people thought the Bills were going to win this game, myself included. I picked them to win this game, but man, it was fantastic. It was a fantastic game from start to finish. Obviously, the Bills had the upper hand and dominated probably a bigger part of the game, looking back at it in retrospect. But look, this is the game we expected. This is the game most people probably wanted to happen. It was a fun game. Bills pulled away at the end and won the game. Woohoo! That's what people probably expected, like I said. But this game was great. This game was awesome. It was fun to watch. Josh Allen, under the lights, not really prime time, but it got dark early in this game. Under the lights, played well, played out of his mind, and Kansas City loses their first game of the year. Does it hurt them at all? No. But it is a very tough loss. It's always tough being undefeated and losing that first game. It always stings a little bit. But that is going to do it for me today, guys. Sorry about the allergy attack that I'm having all episode. Have to make the cuts when I have to make them. I'll have to go back to the video and look at them to find them. But as you guys already know, please do whatever YouTuber tells you to do, guys. You know the drill. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment on the video. Let me know your guys' thoughts. Please, I really appreciate it. Get me into the algorithm so I can continue making you guys better content. And obviously, share the video. Tell your friends, tell your family, get everybody locked in and locked on to the Shumake Take podcast, coming out with videos for you guys 2 days a week, Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is going to do it for me today, guys. Hope you guys have it. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Have a great week, and I will see you guys in the next one.